Welcome to Highland League Weekly, the podcast. I'm Ryan Cryle, joined this week by Paul Third, no Callum Law with us this week, unfortunately, but we'll be discussing all of the action that was able to go ahead in the Breedon Highland League over the weekend. Just a reminder that this is taken from our main Highland League Weekly web show over on the Press and Journal website. You need to be a subscriber to watch that, but this week we've got highlights of the league clash between Lossiemouth and Brechin City from Saturday. If you just want to chat about the results, you're in the right place. Brechin triumphing 2-0 at Grant Park at the weekend. Very late goals in this one, though. Not like it was one that Brechin really had to grind out, wasn't it?
It was, and that probably makes it such a satisfying result for them. But you can see from the highlights, yes, there's not a lot of goalmouth action, but Brechin are knocking on the door from start to finish in that game. Lossiemouth, in contrast, didn't really get very close to the Brechin goal at all. I think there's a couple of moments where they've got the ball out wide, but a cross goes over everyone in the box and out. But that wasn't what they were trying to do, as Steve Porter says in the post-match interview. It was about contain and stop Brechin from playing, and for 88 minutes they did it really well. But ultimately it's a 2-0 defeat, a sore one for the home side, but a fantastic win for Brechin that now takes them top of the table.
I mean, people will have already seen Grady McGrath's goal, but worth showing you again. Tremendous finish that. He was obviously having a frustrating day, but to find the top corner in the way he did in that situation, you know, with a volley as well, like technically a very good goal.
Oh, it's sweet, and matched by the celebrations. He clearly enjoyed silencing whoever's been giving
somebody
him.
was clearly annoyed. Yeah.
Someone's been on his case in that game, that's for sure. But the silence from the home fans, the fact after he scored, kind of shows how sore that was for them. But credit to McGrath, because obviously he's got a teammate who's just gone flying through the air and has ended up in a heap. It would have been easy to stop and go, and claim for something, but he doesn't. He's fully focused on getting a connection, and it's sweet. I'm going to use that word a lot here. Just a terrific finish into the top corner.
Brechin top of the table now?
Yeah, and a great weekend for them. When I think any time you've got the opportunity to go and put points on the board when your rivals are not playing is a good weekend, and Brechin have gone and done that. A very satisfying win for Ray McKinnon and his players, I'm sure. Yeah,
probably worth mentioning at this juncture that for those not in the north or northeast of Scotland, it was quite snowy towards the end of last week, and that affected quite a lot of the matches. Their ability to go ahead has cleared up now. It's just wet now out there, but hopefully that's the end of it, and we get we don't have these constant wipeouts for weeks on end from this point. It's too early for that. Anyway, let's move on to the other three games that were able to go ahead in the league at the weekend. Start with Clachnacuddin 3, Inverurie Locos 2. Comeback win for Clach. This one again showing their quality. Callum Duncan had given Locos a first half lead. A James Anderson penalty levelled it after the break. We'll come back to that penalty. Anderson then scored his 21st goal of the season to make it 2-1. Another big boost for my prediction that he's going to be the top goal scorer this season. Kuba Lasinski made it 3-1. Jack Davison was sent off the hosts in the 80th minute, though receiving a second booking that allowed Locos to strike again in injury time when Josh Bolton netted, but ultimately Clach win the game. We'll start with the penalty. I think Dean Donaldson, despite being unhappy with that award, was kind of quite harsh in his criticism of his players for kind of the way they lost those 3 goals in a row in the second period, which ultimately cost them the game. But the penalty, so we've seen the footage, you'll be seeing the footage probably right now. Really hard to tell for me whether the defender makes enough of a connection to send the Clach player down. I feel like the Clach player goes down quite late. It does look quite soft to me, but as we were discussing before we started filming, the referee does have a better angle from the side, and it looks like a clear view of what actually transpires. So maybe he has seen that there's no touch on the ball, as Dean Donaldson reckoned there was, and that the Clach player has been brought down.
Well, the running gag every week is Callum's going to give some poor referee pelters in an episode, and with him being off, I'm going to defend the referee a little bit here, because he, as you say, he's the one with the best view of this. We've watched this over and over again. You could slow it down, you can zoom in. It's so hard to tell if there's contact. There may be, but the only thing I would say is no matter if we can watch it over and over again and still not be sure, then it's a very big decision in the referee's part to go, yeah, that's a penalty, because if he'd just gone, no, that's out for a corner or whatever, I don't think anyone's complaining. I don't see anyone appealing. So, well, there's a roar, but I just don't see it as a genuine, oh, everyone's charging towards a referee looking for a penalty. It's a big call and a key one that swung a game back into Clach's favour, and they went on and built from there to get a very good win.
Thank you to Inverurie Locos for the footage. Obviously, one of the issues we've had, I don't know if it's Locos' camera or it's Clach's floodlights, but the footage is quite dark, which does make it quite hard to see. So, you know, if you're looking for positive criticism, a way to improve things, make the footage brighter. For Clach, these are the kind of little things you need going in your favour if you're going to mount a title charge on maybe a day where you do find yourself behind.
It is, and they're grinding it. If you want to contest a title, you've just got to pick up wins week in, week out, and Clach, to their credit, are doing that. Conor Gethins might scoff a little bit and play down their prospects, but they're second. They're right in the hunt, and I know you can look at, well, Formartine have a game in hand, you can look at Brora having, I think it's 3 games in hand. Even if Brora were to win all their matches and go top of the table, Clach are still only 4 points behind them at the halfway stage. That's a very good position to be in, and I defy anyone to say no, we're not in this if you're a 4 point gap in the midway point of the campaign.
Yeah, and obviously with the winter, as we've discussed, you know, you never know which team could end up, you know, rattling off 5 games when, you know, everyone else is dormant, and that obviously we've better having the points on the board. We've discussed that previously. Dean Donaldson, we've talked about this earlier, but quite critical of his players in their start to the second half. He said certain players are too comfortable and not hungry enough. You don't get to swan about in the Highland League. You need to be competitive and win your battles. First and foremost, quite reminiscent of what we've been hearing from Jimmy Tulane, the Aberdeen manager, at points this season. But yeah, just clearly not thinking he was getting that sort of enough grit and fight from his team. It
sounds that way, and it's funny. It's been a strange old season for Locos so far, because you look at that squad, there are some very good players there, and you are expecting them to have built on a very good campaign last year, but it's just not quite working out for them. And it's never a good day at the office when your manager's questioning your desire or your hunger or commitment to whatever it is. He's not questioning ability, clearly. He's just questioning, are you guys willing to put the graft in here? We're away from home against a team up at top of the table challenging. Have you got the dig in you to get us a result? And on Saturday, for a 20-minute spell, as he touched on, he feels as if they lost their way there.
Okay, Nairn County 0, Buckie Thistle 1. Lyle Keir second half strike decided this one. Did sound like Buckie had other chances, but at the same time, credit must go to Theo Simpson, whose name I keep saying, their Don's loanee goalkeeper. Sounded like he made a couple of important saves from Ben Barron, both of them were. And I mean, ultimately, you know, Buckie only win 1-0, so if, you know, Ben Barron does get on the score sheet and Theo Simpson doesn't make those saves, you know, points go a begging.
That's it. I mean, and Simpson is a young'un by goalkeeper standards in the Highland League, and like everything else, there's going to be moments where he's perhaps inconsistent or his youth gets the better of him. But yeah, he seems to be growing in stature the more he's playing. Certainly that experience that he's gaining. We know Aberdeen have changed their thought structure in terms of putting players out on loan and exposing them to men's football at a young age, and Theo Simpson certainly seems to be benefiting from that. But also at the other end of the park, that's Lyle Keir's 11th of the season, 6 in the last 4, so it's a very good combination to have if someone can put the ball in the back of the net and you've got a goalkeeper that's keeping it out at the other end. But yeah, I mean, that's 6 games unbeaten now for Buckie in the league, so they're going well. It's a good result for them after they lost in 2 cup competitions earlier in the month, and obviously they've still got the Scottish Cup this weekend. So yeah, it's a big week for them, but they're going into it in good shape. Nairn, Wayne McIntosh bemoaning defensive lapses again. It's frustrating that their away record's been very good. I know that they lost at Banks of Dee last week, but on the whole they've been doing well away from home. But that's 3 defeats in a row now at Station Park, so they need to try and fix that, address that, and get going again, because it's hurting their campaign.
One more to discuss, and probably the result of the weekend. I say probably, it was the result of the weekend. Wick Academy 6, Deveronvale 1. I don't think many people would have predicted this one. I mean, just the margin of victory. So Wick broke the deadlock early on when Mark McGregor scores from the penalty spot. Gordon McNabb's deflected shot from the edge of the box looped beyond Sean McIntosh to make it 2-0 after a quarter of an hour. Rest of the scoring was in the final 20 minutes though. So with Wick 2-0 up already, Mark McCaddy scored the third. Then Deveronvale got one back when Joe Anderson headed into his own net from Jack Mitchell's corner. But then James Boyd made it 4-1, Ryan Campbell made it 5, and Mark McCaddy scoring again to complete what was a very good result for Wick. I suppose after this game, naturally, Gary Manson was ecstatic, having some old boys in the crowd and, there for an anniversary day out.
No, he wasn't. I don't think Gary ever gets ecstatic. if you read
well,
his
by
comments.
his standards, yeah, by his standards. But I mean, Gary Wood, the other Gary, his post-match interview was quite interesting because he was talking about how, due to the weather conditions and having to go up to Forres on Wednesday night, wasn't it? Some Deveronvale players didn't get back till 3 a.m. on Thursday morning. They then had their work on Thursday, their work on Friday, and then they're up to Wick on the Saturday, which is obviously a lot of travelling, a lot of kind of like not too much sleep and stuff. But for me, I mean, it could have happened to any team, and ultimately it's just bad luck that the weather and the fixtures have conspired.
It is, and it's 2 away games back to back, which doesn't help. He's right to say, look, I'm not using this as an excuse, I'm just saying it may have been a factor in why we were so off it, because that wasn't a typical Deveronvale performance. They'll bounce back, I'm sure. From a Wick point of view, I'm laughing about you talking about Gary. Must have been ecstatic. Gary Manson was saying, that's our best performance of the season. You're thinking, oh, here we go. And he says, but it just makes it all the more frustrating that we haven't reached that level all season. And I suppose in a way he's got a point, because that's their first win since the 11th of October when they beat Strathspey. So there's clearly an inconsistency there. If you can score 6 at home, you should be feeling pretty good about yourself. But he's obviously in the back of his head, he's looking at points that have gotten away in the last few weeks.
Yeah, always glass half empty. It's like Marilyn Manson. Anyway, let's have a look at the Breedon Highland League standings after Saturday's 4 matches. That's it then for this episode of Highland League Weekly, the podcast. Hope you've enjoyed listening or watching. Just a reminder, if you want to watch full highlights of Lossiemouth against Brechin City from the weekend, you can do so over on the Press and Journal website. Our main Highland League Weekly show, you need to be a subscriber to watch that, but you can subscribe via our sports pack and that will get access to all of our Highland League and Highland League Weekly content. Until we are back with you, please keep in touch with everything Highland League Weekly via our social media channels, and most importantly, enjoy the football, whichever games you're watching.